Good morning, faithful listeners, and welcome to the Bible Explained podcast. Today we're going to be talking about the kings of Israel, and this is going to be a very history-rich episode. We're going to be going back and talking about the king of Assyria and what he did in the expanse of Assyria. We're also going to be talking about Israel's tumultuous political climate, as well as what is happening to Syria at this time period as well. So stay tuned for all of that. So the trees are finally starting to get very green where I'm at. The leaves are still baby leaves, but they're coming in very nicely, and it's just so exciting to see my backyard, which is filled with trees, nice and green once again. I'm just excited about that. Tell me what the weather is where you live, and also tell me how you found the podcast. I love hearing from you guys, so if you ever want to reach out to contact me or to give me a prayer request, please do so. You're going to find my contact information listed in the description of this episode. And if you email me, I do in fact read all of my emails. But speaking of reading things, let's go ahead and read 2 Kings 15, 13 through 26. Grab your cup of coffee, especially if it's a cup of coffee from 7 Weeks Coffee, because they're the coffee brand that supports life in the womb, okay? And we're going to be talking about a king that definitely was not pro-life. This is King Menahem we're going to discuss today, and he was a disgusting, very terrible, and very violent king of Israel. Let's read 2 Kings 15, 13 through 26. As I usually do, I'll be reading from the WEB. Shallum the son of Jabesh began to reign in the 39th year of Uzziah the king of Judah, and he reigned for a month in Samaria. Menahem the son of Gadi went up from Tirzah, came to Samaria, struck Shallum the son of Jabesh in Samaria, killed him, and reigned in his place. Now the rest of the acts of Shallum, and his conspiracy with which he made, behold, they are written in the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Israel. Then Menahem attacked Tipsah, and all who were in it and its border areas, from Tirzah. He attacked it because they didn't open their gates to him, and he ripped up all their women who were with child. In the 39th year of Azariah, king of Judah, Menahem the son of Gadi began to reign over Israel for 10 years in Samaria. He did that which was evil in Yahweh's sight. He didn't depart all his days from the sins of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, with which he made Israel to sin. Pul the king of Assyria came against the land, and Menahem gave Pul 1,000 talents of silver, that his hand might be with him to confirm the kingdom into his hand. Menahem exacted the money from Israel, even from all the mighty men of wealth, from each man 50 shekels of silver, to give to the king of Assyria. So the king of Assyria turned back, and didn't stay there in the land. Now the rest of the acts of Menahem, and all that he did, aren't they written in the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Israel? Menahem slept with his fathers, and Pekahiah his son reigned in his place. In the 50th year of Azariah, king of Judah, Pekahiah the son of Menahem began to reign over Israel in Samaria for 2 years. He did that which was evil in Yahweh's sight. He didn't depart from the sins of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, with which he made Israel to sin. Pekah the son of Remaliah, his captain, conspired against him, and attacked him in Samaria, in the fortress of the king's house, with Argob and Ariah. And with him were 50 men of the Gileadites. He killed him, and reigned in his place. Now the rest of the acts of Pekahiah, and all that he did, behold, they are written in the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Israel. Currently down in Judah, Uzziah has been the king for about 50 years. He had a very firm and solid grasp on the throne. He did quite well as a king. But meanwhile, up in Israel, they are going through king after king after king. It starts out in verse 13 with this guy named Shallum. Shallum, the son of Jabesh, began to reign in the 39th year of Uzziah, the king of Judah, and he reigned for a month in Samaria. And Shallum got the throne because he killed Zechariah, who was, I think, the great-grandchild of Jehu. So Zechariah was the last king of the Jehu dynasty. Shallum is the one who ends the Jehu dynasty by killing Zechariah to take the throne for himself. And he was successful for about a month. He reigned for a month in Samaria. So he was a terrible king, terribly disorganized. So the Shallum dynasty ends as quickly as it starts, basically. Menahem, the son of Gadi, went up from Tirzah, came to Samaria and struck Shallum, the son of Jabesh, in Samaria, killed him, and reigned in his place. So while Shallum is reigning in Samaria, this other guy named Menahem sees this perfect opportunity to come and take the throne for himself. And we don't even really know who this Menahem guy was. Was he a captain? Was he a servant? Was he a wealthy man? We have no clue, but he saw an opening to take the throne for himself, and he did it. He went to battle against Shallum, and Shallum fell in battle. Menahem killed him and then reigned in his place. And so now Shallum is dead, and it says the rest of the acts of Shallum and the conspiracy which he made to kill Zechariah, behold, they are written in the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Israel. Once again, we don't have the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Israel. We have the Chronicles of the Kings of Judah, which we are going to go over very soon once we are finished with 2 Kings. So we don't really know much about Shallum other than the fact that he attacked Hezekiah and ended the dynasty of Jehu, and then died very quickly himself. So now Menahem is the new king of Israel, but he has a very rocky start to becoming the king. And that's because the climate of Israel right now was very divided. Actually, Israel was potentially on the brink of a civil war at this time because of the issues surrounding Israel. So Israel, almost from the beginning, was always having problems with Syria. Syria was constantly targeting Israel. And then also Assyria was becoming a major problem for the world because the current king of Assyria during this time was Pul, also known as Tiglath-Pileser III, who was the king of Assyria and also known for expanding Assyria way beyond what it initially was. So Tiglath-Pileser III was causing a lot of trouble for the world right now. Israel was scared of Assyria. Israel is also scared of Syria, also known as Aram, by the way. If you read a different version of scripture, it might actually say Aram every single time the word Syria is mentioned, but Aram and Syria, pretty much the same thing. So Israel is struggling a lot, not only with how the kings are constantly killing each other and there's no solid hold on the throne, but also because these countries are coming in and attacking Israel just left and right. Israel is scared out of its mind. So Menahem, when he kills Shallum and takes the throne for himself, some of Israel was very against this. And one of the places that was against this was this city called Tipsah. And people don't actually know where Tipsah is located. Most people believe that it was located in Ephraim, also called Tappuah. But though we don't know the location of Tipsah, we do know that it was an Israelite city. And Menahem goes and attacks this city because this city was trying to revolt against him. Verse 16, then Menahem attacked Tipsah and all who were in it and its border areas from Tirzah. He attacked it because they didn't open their gates to him, and he ripped up all their women who were with child. So Menahem, an Israelite man, killed his own countrymen in the most brutal way that he possibly could. This type of brutality of ripping open pregnant women was something that foreign nations would do. For example, the Amalekites, way back in the days of Saul, God actually commanded Saul to kill all of the Amalekites because the Amalekites had actually ripped open the pregnant women of Israel and also had killed the elderly and the old people of Israel. God was pronouncing judgment on the Amalekites for doing that. Hazael, the king of Syria, did this to the Israelites as well. Not to mention Tiglath-Pileser, the king of Assyria. He also was in practice of doing this to nations that he would conquer. So Menahem was doing this to his own countrymen, ripping open Israelite women so that they and their babies would just die. Absolutely sickening things. And Menahem was the most violent king that we know of in Israel's history because he did this to his own people. Not even some of these other nations would do that to their own people. Not to say it was good that they do it to other people, obviously, but doing it to your own people, that is a level of scuzzery we don't even see other nations' kings participating in. And Menahem did this because Tipsah wouldn't open their doors to him. They rejected him as the king. It says he attacked them because they didn't open their gates to him, and so he ripped up all of their women who were with child. According to Josephus, because I have to mention him in every Old Testament episode that I do, apparently Menahem did a siege against the city, burned the city's roads down, and then finally, once the cities had to open up their gates to him, he went in and genocided the entire city, killed every single person that lived in there, including the infants, including the women, and including the pregnant women as well. But during the reign of Menahem, remember how I said that Israel was almost in a civil war? There's another guy historically that was also somewhat in power in Israel, not just Menahem, but it was this guy named Pekah. Pekah most likely was a Gileadite man who was an anti-Assyrian rebel. And he was gaining power elsewhere in Israel. So it's possible the reason Tipsah didn't open their doors to Menahem was because they were on the side of Pekah. And Pekah, his story is not over yet. We're just about to get to him, actually. It says in verse 17, in the 39th year of Azariah, the king of Judah. I just find it so funny. Like, scripture is so snarky because it's like, while Azariah is down in Judah, living his best life as king and causing Judah to flourish, mostly, Israel is a crap show. It says, Menahem, the son of Gadi, began to reign over Israel for 10 years in Samaria. He did that which was evil in Yahweh's sight, obviously. He didn't depart from all of his days from the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, with which he made Israel to sin. And what's really interesting about that phrase, it keeps coming up with all of the kings of Israel, every single one of them. At one point in time, it is said about them, they didn't depart from the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, with which he made Israel to sin. That is the description of every single Israelite king so far. And that's because, Jeroboam, who was the first king of Israel, he started Israel down the path of destruction by incorporating worship of other gods that were not Yahweh. And with the incorporations of these other gods, that makes me wonder, what kind of things was Israel doing in the days of Jeroboam the first? Because, Menahem is going and ripping open pregnant women. And that makes me think that what Jeroboam encouraged Israel to do from the very beginning was far worse than even we can imagine. Because Menahem was considered to be walking in the footsteps of Jeroboam. Menahem, the most violent and disgusting king in Israel's history, walked in the footsteps of Jeroboam. So I just wonder, what did Jeroboam do to cause Israel to sin so greatly that every single awful king that Israel had followed in his footsteps? But continuing in verse 20, Menahem, not only did he do evil in Yahweh's sight, but it mentions here in verse 19, Pul, the king of Assyria, came against the land. Okay, this Pul guy is the same guy as Tiglath-Pileser III. For some reason, his name just became Pul over the years. Maybe it was just easier to pronounce. I don't know. But Pul, the king of Syria, finally advances against Israel completely. And it says Menahem, in order to appease Pul, decided to pay tribute to him. This means that Assyria would have full control over Israel without having a battle with Israel. Assyria, what they used to do is they would go and conquer nations, either through war and battle or through making those nations like a province of Assyria. And those nations would have to pay tribute to Assyria every single year. And those nations would lose a lot of their own independence that they had once had. And that is what Menahem does. He literally gives up Israel to Assyria. Menahem gave Pul 1,000 talents of silver, that his hand might be with him to confirm the kingdom into his hand. So Menahem, in order to gain more control for himself, decides to partner with Pul, and Menahem did this by paying Pul a significant amount of money. And Menahem got his money from the wealthy in Israel, he made every wealthy man pay 50 shekels of silver to give it to the king of Assyria. So not only did Menahem sell Israel to Assyria so that he could maintain a little bit of control of Israel, but he also forced the Israelites to actually pay that tribute to Assyria as well. So Menahem, I think, was probably the worst king in Israel's history. Possibly. I don't know. Israel had some really bad kings. Maybe Ahab was worse. I don't know. But Ahab at least did humble himself before God at the end. I don't know. There's some really bad kings in Israel, but I think Menahem is up there with some of the worst. So he gave Pul, the king of Assyria, all this money, and the king of Assyria, it says, turned back and did not stay there in the land. So Pul was happy with what he got from Israel, the large amount of money, and also Israel now being under Assyria's thumb. Pul goes away happy. Menahem stays happy because he can still, be the king of Israel or whatever. And the only people that really get screwed over is all of Israel itself. Then in verse 21, now the rest of the acts of Menahem and all that he did, aren't they written in the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Israel? It says Menahem slept with his fathers, and Pekahiah his son reigned in his place. We don't even know how Menahem died. He did a lot of damage as the king, and then he died, and his son reigned in his place. It says in the 50th year of Azariah, king of Judah. It's just so funny how scripture keeps going back to that. Where it's like, yeah, Azariah is still the king of Judah. Pekahiah, the son of Menahem, began to reign over Israel in Samaria for 2 years. He did that which was evil in Yahweh's sight. He didn't depart from the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, with which he made Israel to sin. And now we see a familiar name, Pekah, the son of Remaliah. Remember, he was the anti-Assyrian rebel who gained a lot of power in Israel during the days of Menahem. And it could have been that Pekah was also reigning separately from Menahem in a different region of Israel. So now that Menahem is dead, Pekah sees the perfect opportunity to finally grasp complete control of the throne for himself. So it says that Pekah actually became the captain of Pekahiah, who was the son of Menahem. Pekahiah is now reigning on the throne for 2 years, and Pekah became his captain. And you might be like, why did Pekahiah pick Pekah to become his captain if they were practically in war with each other? Well, it's very possible that Pekahiah was trying to ease the tension in Israel and tried to make a peace treaty with Pekah. And he appointed Pekah as one of his captains in order to appease all of Israel. But obviously this did not appease Israel, and it certainly didn't appease Pekah, who wanted the throne for himself. And it says Pekah conspired against Pekahiah and attacked him in Samaria in the fortress of the king's house with Argob and Araiah. So apparently these two guys, Argob and Araiah, were still loyal to Pekahiah, but the WEB words it kind of weirdly. But no, Argob and Araiah were on Pekahiah's side, fighting against Pekah. It says, with Pekah were 50 men of the Gileadites, which infers that Pekah was also a Gileadite himself. He was possibly from Gilead because the Gileadites were on his side. So it says, Pekah was successful and killed Pekahiah and reigned in his place. Now the rest of the acts of Pekahiah and all that he did, behold, they are written in the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Israel. And we don't know what Pekahiah did. There's almost no history on him other than his name, other than the fact that he was the son of Menahem, and other than the fact that he did evil in God's sight. Pekahiah has no legacy whatsoever. And that unfortunately was the case with a lot of the kings of Israel. And sadly, Israel's days at this point in time are numbered. As tensions rise in Israel, as Assyria is closing in on Israel, and as Israel refuses to call out to Yahweh their God for help. So, faithful listeners, thank you for tuning in to today's podcast, and I am just so appreciative that you all are here. Now, if you're interested in getting that cup of 7 weeks coffee, Just check out the link in the description. And when you use my link, 10% of your coffee purchase will go to a pregnancy center in the U.S., and 15% will benefit P40 Ministries. Now, tomorrow we're going to be talking about Galatians, because on Tuesdays and Thursdays I do a New Testament episode, and we are currently in the book of Galatians, but we're almost done with Galatians. We only have one more chapter in that book, and we'll move into Ephesians very, very soon. So I hope to see you guys tomorrow for one of our last episodes of Galatians. But faithful listeners, have a fantastic and wonderful rest of your day. I'll see you guys tomorrow, hopefully. Until then, happy listening, and God bless.